I'm always fascinated at games that take a sport or an idea that we're just so used to having executed in one way and trying it in a different manner altogether. And considering Ganbare Super Strikers has been out for a while but just very recently got its PS5 release, I thought it'd be time to take a look at this tactical RPG version of football. I have to admit, and I will say it up front, I'm not a football fan. I do not like, watch, or do anything to do with football, but I do love me a tactical RPG, so that was my in for this. Although having said that, I do enjoy football games that do something slightly different. For instance, LBRY back in the PS1 era. Ganbare plays out like a tactical RPG war game. Team versus team, enemy versus enemy. You move all of your players and then trigger a certain move, and then once you've completed your phase, the enemy or the other team will then complete theirs, and each turn is a minute on the playing clock. Obviously, most goals wins, same as all other football and soccer games. No change there. But it's the way how you go about it in Ganbare, because it's a tactical RPG and it's turn-based, that really kind of makes it feel unique. Your players have a variety of different stats, but they all start off at level 1. So they'll have a stat range for being able to pass, shoot, dribble, and a move set of how far they can move to. And as you play more games and level up the character, they will get progressively better and better and better. Aside from move set and how far you can move around the pitch, that kind of stays relatively static. However, you can equip items to each player, such as speedy shoes, that allow you to move further or add status effects or ailments when you do dribble players, or you can add special abilities too. There's around 35 to 40 of those across the whole game, and how you load out your players is quite key to having a good balance between attacking and defence, because if you make a couple of poor judgments or a few passes or dribbles go horribly wrong for you, the tide will turn. Get it out, Simon. The tide will turn very quickly against you and into the favour of your opponents. This is largely because of the way how the stats work in this game. So, you are picking from a dynamic range whenever you pass or shoot or dribble, and that's set out by your character, and it will get better and better as they level up. But there's always that randomisation depending on where you go. And what I really like on this is that whenever you pass or shoot, for example, every tile that you go past sees the stat of the energy of that attack or pass or shoot drop by 10 points. And so that stops you being able to kick from the halfway point, but it also means that you need to be very sure that you're going to go for a move or a shoot at goalie and know what the goalie's stats are, so that you're going to be able to overpower the goalie when the ball gets to the net. Same for a pass, same for a dribble. There's no point you being a knackered player trying to go up against a really strong, fresh, out onto the field substitute that is going to deflect your dribble, because it just means that A, you lose the ball, but then B, your player's knackered because you've had a failed move. Spotting how knackered your players are is the stamina bar, or the stamina points, and that's the red bar at the bottom. Players get tired very easily, especially early on in the game. But as you level up your players, they do get better over time. But then the force of your attacks kind of balances this out a little bit, because then you're having to go against more force to beat the higher ranked teams as you go through the Nations Cup and into the World Cup as you progress through single player mode. That then means that you're really having to think about risk versus reward constantly throughout Ganbare Super Strikers, and it's easily the best part of the experience, because if you're a gamer that doesn't mind a slice of RNG within parameters that you have worked up to, then this is a really good tactical RPG for you to get involved in. If you want very specific numbers with no percentage of success that could swing one way or another, then I think Ganbare might slightly annoy you. With all of this, you also have special attacks that can be spent through the AP bar at the bottom. And these are your things like inflicting status ailments, or going for like a special attack, which means that you can dribble through, steal the ball, and then do a secondary move afterwards if you've still got enough chance to do it. It really depends on how you've fitted your players and how you've leveled them up. Ganbare does lend itself to a little bit of a grind because of this levelling up mechanic. As you go through the single player mode, it pays to go back and replay older games. Firstly, because you'll need to level up your substitutes so that they're vaguely competent alongside your main players. But secondly, there's also a couple of extra challenges for each match that then unlock either items that you can equip or specific status effects or ailments that you can inflict that you can now add on either to your own players or then add in addition to some of your extra other attacks that you can then pass on to your opponents. The game also has local multiplayer mode, which works out quite nicely. You can have up to 8 players playing in a league or a tournament, which is quite cool. And you have a variation here of a 7 versus 7 or 11 versus 11, which does kind of mean that you've got like a shorter or a longer mode to play. And the 11 versus 11 game mode can get quite chaotic because it's like a ping pong back and forth, because no sooner have you stolen, you'll get stolen back from the ball. And it really does mean that you have to kind of wear your team down. And what quite often happens in Ganbare is the team that's worn down to be knackered first is the one that loses out, because then you just have no gumption to be able to deflect goals, passes, dribbles, any of that whatsoever, and then you start to get worn down and overrun. So expect lots of 3 or 4 minute to goes, swarms of goals coming through. That's just the way how Ganbare works. Is this going to be for everyone? Absolutely not. But it's a really interesting spin on football or soccer if you're in America, and I think, yeah, I quite enjoyed it. It's one of those games that I kind of pick up and I do a game of, and then I leave it for a few weeks and then come back to it. Bearing in mind, like, I've had this game for several years and I'm still going through the last few matches now. But every time I come back to it, I always go, oh, it's quite good, this. And then I kind of leave it for a bit and then come back again. So, yeah, I think that's an odd recommendation. But hey, it's something different. Written review will be over on higherplayinggames.com. Take care. Higher Plane Games is part of the Higher Plane Network, a completely independent media outlet supported by people like you. The goal is to create the best possible content that cultivates a richer indie scene for games as well as music and entertainment. To find out more and to get involved, visit patreon.com/higherplane network. Your support makes all the difference, and in return you'll gain access to bonus content and downloads. Thank you for watching.